And you can have your say on that on 0845 6060 973. We're also talking as well about your experiences when you are, if you've ever been in a situation where you've had your car impounded. I was yesterday, my car was impounded yesterday whilst in Croydon, and I've been talking about the experience that you've had when that happened, and whether you were actually able to retrieve your vehicle. I wasn't in a situation where I could actually retrieve my vehicle, which I think is quite an interesting news story. The fact that there's a little bit of a racket going on here, that people are unable to get their vehicles when they've been fined. And I think that that's frankly outrageous. You know, it's a fair cop. If I've got towed away, that's absolutely fine. But because I didn't have my vehicle logbook with me, as well as a proof of address, and frankly, who would carry those things with them? Unfortunately, I was unable to retrieve my vehicle, which meant that I had to then take a black cab home to Brixton. I wouldn't have made it on the bus in time, and then come back to Croydon in the black cab, so that with all of my appropriate documentation in order to retrieve my vehicle, and I had to pay them £240 for the privilege. £240 for a ticket that I should have got for £2.50. And it was a mistake. I thought it was free on a Sunday. It was a mistake that I made. And the trauma has dented me beyond belief. It's actually made me consider selling my car, because I really couldn't go through paying out in total £300 again. But I get the fine. What I don't get is the fact that they wanted this documentation. Now, they said, of course, it was to prevent fraud and to prove that I owned the vehicle when I came and got it. But why in God's name would I be paying the fine, and how in God's name would I have the keys and know that they have the vehicle if I hadn't called them? I asked them why they don't have access to the DVLA database, and they said, oh no, we don't have access to it. And I said, well, if you have access to the DVLA database, you could look up my name, and then I could show you a more likely form of ID, like a bank card or something else. So surely with the car keys and my bank card, that would be sufficient. And they said, no, we don't have access to the DVLA database. So, but you've taken my car. So you could bet you £1 to a pin to the proverbial, if I hadn't paid a ticket, you'd find access to the DVLA database, wouldn't you? So that's Croydon Council, and someone who's sent me a text on this on 84850. The irony, you work for a company that gave fantastic support to Croydon after the riot, and that's how Croydon treats you. Well, they say that they are just enforcing and just doing their job, and they're also saying that the reason they needed that documentation was in order to prove that I owned the vehicle. Maybe that's something you understand. Certainly not something I understand, because frankly I was left stranded without my vehicle. But I certainly won't be visiting Croydon again to do any shopping, that's for sure. Val is in Beckenham. Morning, Val.
Good morning. Krishna, I had a similar situation in Croydon. One Saturday morning I was driving from Beckenham to Gatwick Airport, and decided on the way, I was very hungry in the morning, just left the office in Beckenham, and I thought I'd stop on the way in Croydon, go and get a sandwich and a drink. Left the car on a side street.
Right.
And you know these, on a side street where you've got parking on both sides in parking bays.
Yeah.
And there was a parking bay, the last, where the parking bays had stopped, there was a yellow line, but that line was removed. It was very, very faint, and it looked like Croydon Council had created another parking bay. But that parking bay again was very, very faint. So I parked there, thinking it's a side street. It looked like it was a parking bay, and literally 30 yards away was a shop selling, newsagent shop, and I thought I'd get a sandwich and a drink. So off I went. The shop was a bit busy. I had to wait. By the time I got back, I saw my car on the being towed away. Anyway, ran after it. They could hear me shouting. And these two guys in the vehicle, could hear them laughing. You know, it was quiet morning. I could hear them laughing because I literally caught up with the van. But Now, the problem was, in my car was my office keys and my house keys. Being a big bunch, I didn't want to walk around with it.
Oh, you're joking.
Yeah, I left everything in the car. So, in front of the parking bay was a house. So when I knocked on the door, asked them if I could use their phone. They were very sympathetic. They said, yes, of course. Called Croydon Council, explained the situation, said, look, can I come and collect my keys to get the documents from the office? No, I can't.
So you can't even get your keys out of the vehicle?
I couldn't get the keys out of the vehicle. And I had no way of getting to the office to get the documents. So I had to get back to the office, get a locksmith to come and change the locks. Well, get me in first of all, change the locks. He charged me 250 quid, wanted cash. So I didn't have that kind of cash on me. I had to go to the bank, draw the money out, pay him, take this taxi back to Croydon Council and pay them another, I think it was 250 odd pounds. That was about 3 years ago.
Was it this place in Factory Road?
Yes.
Yes. If the Earth ever needed an enema, we have found the point of entry.
Exactly. So, you know, I mean, it was a nightmare for me that morning because, and of course, you know, being Saturday, you didn't know how long it was going to take to do all this and get back to them on time, because if it meant another day, then it cost another £100, I suppose it was those days, for another day's impoundment. And all the while you're thinking, you know, they could have just given me the keys. Just given me the keys to get to the office to get the documents. But no, just to make it difficult for you. And that's the memories I have of Croydon Council. Never again will I go to Croydon.
No, that's two of us. I'm so sorry about that, Val. What an absolute nightmare that you went through. I don't see why you couldn't have just gone in and got your keys. Why couldn't they just let you get your keys? Like, do you know what this? Because the thing is that it was a fair cop. You were in a space you shouldn't have been in. You deserved a ticket. You deserved a clamp. You did. Those are the rules. We both deserved that. That's true. You know, we made a mistake, but
the way that bay was created, anyone would have thought it was a bay.
Yeah.
It was so faint. The yellow line was so faint. You couldn't. I mean, anybody would have thought it was a bay. That Croydon Council were probably going to come back and you know, they'd probably finished the work, half the work, and were coming back to create the bay. So you stop there.
Yeah, well, they would have probably said that you shouldn't have taken the chance on it, or that it wasn't a bay, so therefore they were justified in doing that. Listen, Val, I'm so sorry for your pain, but thank you very much indeed for your call.
This is LBC 97.3.